Yo, what's good everyone? Welcome back to ACS Sneakers. My name is Aidan. On today's video, we are going to be taking a look at the Air Force One Experimental. But before we get into that, like I always do on this channel, I want to welcome back my returning viewers. Thank you as always for supporting me and this channel. And to any new viewers, welcome to the channel. We do release brand new sneaker content just like this each and every week. So do make sure to smash that subscribe button, hit that bell notification as well so you never miss a video. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and get into the intro. So before we get into the shoes themselves, let's just take a quick look at the box. As you can see, we just get that bog standard Air Force One box. So we have this all grey colour with the Nike Air Force in the centre. If we take a quick look now at the label, which reads Air Force One Experimental in the Racer Pink Arctic Punch Sail colourway. Now this is in a UK size 9, as you'll be able to tell from the size label. So if we go ahead now and get straight into the shoe. Where do I even start with these? So with a shoe like this, it's really hard to find one specific place that you want to start. But I guess the first place I'm going to start for this shoe is actually from the toe box. Now the toe box, as well as the rest of the upper, has been constructed of this synthetic plastic mold overlay. When I first ordered this shoe, I anticipated that this overlay would be removable, or it'd be something kind of like what we saw on the Jordan 35, where it would wear away and reveal something different underneath. I was fully expecting that there'd be some leather material underneath this overlay, but just based on feeling it, I'm not sure if you can see how squishy it is and how much it presses in. This, in my opinion, underneath is all foam. It feels really interesting. I've never felt anything quite like it. I kind of like it, to be honest. It definitely feels like it's a really interesting material. Definitely has the same structure that a normal Air Force One has, so everything in terms of the shape feels right. But in general, it's kind of left me a little bit lost for words in some ways, because it's such an interesting looking shoe. It's such an interesting concept. Nike themselves have said that this shoe is inspired and based on an oxygen mask that's used in the sports lab. I personally have never seen an oxygen mask that looks remotely similar to this. To me, this looks like somebody's blown a massive bubblegum bubble and it's just exploded all over the shoe. Now, with that said, you know, the actual material that's overlaid actually looks like it's actually stitched into the uppers themselves. I'm not sure if the camera's actually going to pick that up, but it is really a really interesting design, and it's just so different to anything that I've ever seen on an Air Force One, or just any other shoe in general, to be completely honest. It almost looks like what they do at like these resale shops where they, you know, put the plastic over the shoe, use a heat gun, and they've just done it wrong for my pair. Everything feels really bubbly and it just feels really weird. Now, underneath this overlay, we do actually see the usual perforation to the toe box like you see on all of the Air Force Ones. So that's a really nice detail that they've stayed consistent to a normal Air Force One design. But other than that, nothing else really seems remotely similar to any Air Force One that I've ever seen. Moving then further back the upper of the shoe itself, on both the lateral and medial side of the shoe, we do have what appears to be a foam Nike swoosh. Now on the lateral side, we do actually have some text, so it's N.354. Not exactly sure what that is. I did actually have a quick look on Google, but it didn't really tell me too much about it. So if you guys can try and shed some light on that, it would be massively appreciated, because I don't know if it actually has any significance. Well, that's actually pretty interesting. I've actually figured out what the actual N354 means. On the actual heel of the shoe itself, we do actually have a guarantee of quality for the actual shoe itself. And part of that is the actual serial number, which is N.354. I'm not exactly sure if that's an individual number assigned to this shoe, so technically this would be a numbered shoe, or if that's just an assignment to all these different pairs. But I find it really interesting that they've actually given us a guarantee of quality. I'll be completely honest and a little bit catty. You know, whenever it comes to Nike offering any kind of consistent quality, leaves a lot to be desired in my opinion. Once again, we see more of that foam-like material throughout the rest of the shoe, and it looks to me like it's all a one-piece construction. It doesn't look like there's actually any deviations from this material throughout the rest of the upper, so it is pretty consistent, and like I said on the toe box, it has a really squishy feeling. It feels really soft underhand, so if you are looking for a really comfortable shoe, this definitely feels like it's going to be very comfortable. Moving down to the midsole now, here we have more of that racer pink plastic overlay, and then switching to the outsole of the shoe, here we have this gum rubber outsole. And now moving back up the shoe to the centre, In the centre of the shoe itself, we do have two different sets of lacing options. So we have the flat white laces alongside this toggle lacing system. Now, it actually does look like you can actually unhook this toggle and actually pull it out if you don't want it in the shoe, but it is just an alternative lacing option. It is also fed through the yellow eye stays, as is the flat white laces. Not sure if it's actually going to pick it up on camera, but it is a really interesting design overall. So the laces themselves do actually sit atop this grey nylon tongue, and then as we move up the laces to the top of the tongue, we do have some of that exposed foam, like what we've seen on quite a lot of other Nike releases. Also incorporated into the tongue, we do have this white pull tab, and on the lateral side of the tongue, we do have the Nike Air branding. Moving inside the shoe now, the sock liner itself definitely seems like a much more diluted pink than what we see on the rest of the upper. Now, it is really well padded as well, I would say. It's a lot more padded than your standard Air Force One. The closest thing I can actually think of when I actually think about the padding is my Air Force One tearaways. Now, that was a women's exclusive release, and quite often you do find that the women's exclusives are much more nicely padded and feel softer overall, and this is very similar. So just to quickly touch on sizing, I did go with my true to size fit with a UK size 9, but when it does come to the Air Force One model, I could get away with an 8.5 or even an 8 in some cases. This shoe definitely runs larger in my opinion, so I would recommend, you know, if you've never tried an Air Force One before, I would probably recommend going at least a half size down. But as I always say, if there's any opportunity for you to try a pair before buying, I would highly recommend you do so, just so you can understand the best fit for you. You don't necessarily need to try this pair out to understand your sizing. Try out any other Air Force One that you have available to you, and that will give you the exact fit that you'll need for this shoe. As, you know, in terms of fit, it's identical to the other Air Force Ones that I've had. And now taking a look at the insole of the shoe, here we have more of that diluted pink colour alongside the text that reads, "The AF1 experimental type design is based on an oxygen mask used in the Nike Sports Research Lab." So that just about wraps up the overview of the shoe itself. So if we just now go ahead and get straight into my opinions on the shoe. So just to sum up, in terms of my overall opinion on the shoe itself, I do give the Nike Air Force One experimental a pretty reasonable 5 out of 10. This definitely isn't a shoe that I was ever intending to wear for my personal collection. It's even too out there for me, and it's just something that, you know, was really interesting to look at, and I really wanted to get on the channel so we could actually overlook the shoe itself. If you guys have decided to go ahead and pick this pair up, I'd love to know what your opinions are in the comment section below. If I do see any restocks for the sale or black colorway, I'll definitely be looking to get them in so I can bring you guys that review. So if you've stuck around to this point in the video, I want to say a massive thank you. Also, if you are new to the channel, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button, hit that bell notification as well so you never miss a video, and I hope to see you all again in the next one.